Hello and welcome to See Red UK, where quite simply the Chicago Bulls sing. This one's going to be slightly different from the usual, as it's just me. We're trying something new. So it's only going to be available on YouTube. So hit the bell, give us a thumbs up, and leave some comments down below. I'm Matt, and like I just said, it's just me. We're trying something new so we can do something different with the pods as we move forward. So basically, the idea of this pod is to just give a quick game review from last night. And as you can see going across the bottom, it was a Chicago Bulls victory over the Houston Rockets, 124-119 after overtime. Now, we kind of both said, me and Neil, before when we gave our predictions in our last episode, that we thought we'd get the win, but it'd be a struggle. And that's basically how it went. We got off to a slow start. I think it was 7-0 before Bulls got a point on the board. And the first points were coming through from DeMar DeRozan. And then it just kind of stayed a close game through most of the periods. I did say I wanted to see them get an 8-point lead by the end of the third, which they did. There was up 11. Going into the fourth, they got it up to 16. And then they just don't know what happened. Couldn't seem to score for the second game in a row for that last maybe 4 minutes or so. So the way the first period went, first quarter went, it was all about DeMar DeRozan. He seemed to be the only one that could score. And then as the game went on, it became about Zach. Zach and Kobe doing what they do best. And me and Neil are going to put an episode out later on tonight where we talk about that probably a little bit more. The impact of Zach probably a little bit more. So I'm not going to go too much into that just now. Now, it seemed to be a game of runs. You know, Rockets would have a 10-0 run, then Bulls would get an 8-0 run, then Bulls would get a 10-0 run, and it was just a little bit all over. But like we said, it was expected. Second half, Bulls let Alperen Sengun come alive, which led to some different rotations, should we say, from Billy. We didn't see a lot of Andre Drummond. You know, I think he played something like, he went back down to his 13 minutes. Again, possibly me and Neil will talk about it later on. But the interesting thing about Drummond is he didn't get a single rebound in that time. And I don't know how much money you'd have got if you'd have put money on that to happen, because it doesn't happen that often. And hopefully it never happens again. This sort of the second half, we kept seeming to pull away, but never be able to put it to bed. And like I say, we let them back in that fourth quarter. Now, overall, I thought Bulls played pretty well. The ball was moving. They were hitting threes, especially in the first. We ended up with that hitting 19 of 47. Rockets hitting 11 of 45. So we won that one. Assists, 31 assists for Bulls. Won the free throw battle, 21. We hit 21, they hit 12. They did out rebound us, but like I say, they allowed Alperen Sengun to come alive in that second half, basically. And then we saw the problems that we saw in the Hornets game where we couldn't score. We go to DeMar ISO, and it just wasn't working. Yeah, DeMar could quite easily have hit the game winner at the end, but it didn't. It rimmed out, and it gave Rockets an opportunity with 1.6 seconds left to hit something. Unfortunately, they didn't. Now, another big talking point in that sort of last 5 minutes or so was the fact that the two calls from the refs that could have impacted the game quite a lot different than they did. There was the one where Zach was taking it to the rim, brings the ball back down, catches Sengun with an elbow in the face. They reviewed it to try and see if it was a flagrant, then just called it the common foul. And, but if anything, it wasn't a foul either way. Yeah, so that changed it slightly. And then we got the one where God knows what the refs saw. They called it a foul on Demar, but a flop against Demar. And even Billy Donovan was saying, how can it be a foul and a flop? That just doesn't happen. And obviously they reviewed it, reviewed their own call, then gave the decision, and then Rockets decided to appeal that. And it was just about a 5-minute process where the outcome was Demar got called for a flop. They get the technical free throw from it, which brought the score down. And then we got the inbound back up the other end, and it was just one of the most random plays you'll see, I think, or calls you'll see. We shouldn't have been in a position where it actually mattered anyway, in my opinion, because we were 16 up and we let Rockets back into it. So then going quickly into overtime, we see Demar not really get the ball and Kobe and Zach take over. There was 2 plays in particular from Zach where he got the and one, and then down the defensive end, Bulls come back up with it, and Zach then hits a 3. Then we see Kobe hit a 3, and it was pretty much game over after that. So overall, I mean, like I said, not disappointed with the Bulls, but it's just that closing the game out again. Individually, there were some great performances. Like I say, we may talk about them slightly on our episode later on. All starters in double digits point wise. Obviously led by Kobe with 30. Zach had 25, Vooch 18, DeRozan 19, Caruso 12. Didn't get a lot from the bench, and that's going to be, I think, a bit of a worry for me moving forward, in the sense that people's minutes have dropped again, and we went heavy with minutes for Kobe again, Demar again, and even Vooch and Zach as well. Now, for me, it was the defensive effort that won us the game, because there were some big defensive plays in it. And yeah, but people will say it was an overtime win against Rockets, but Rockets were 9th in the West going into it, and I think they were actually a game above 500. So they're doing better than Bulls were, and yeah, okay, they had a couple of injury problems, but look, you can only beat what's in front of you. Yeah, would have preferred a more dominant win, but hey, it is what it is. So moving on to the individuals, and we struggled to decide who got the bull of the game, which it was a nice struggle. Could quite easily have gone to Kobe, but in the end, we give it to Zach. Neil called it before the game that he thought Zach was going to get it. And yeah, Zach deserved it. He was flirting with that triple-double. 25 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists. But to me, what stood out with Zach was his defensive effort. There's some massive defensive plays from him. I remember the one where he got the steal and then got the outbound pass to Kobe, who hit a pull-up 3. His assists, they were there. He was moving the ball around, which is what we want to see. The only downside to Zach's performance was the 4 turnovers that we know Zach does. But then at the same time, Kobe White got 4 turnovers. But both of them were hitting the threes. And, this is Zach's first bull of the game that we've given. But it was probably his best performance this season. All-round performance, and like I say, I don't want to talk too much about Zach because we're going to talk about him later on, me and Neil. But this is just me putting out there how we saw it initially. 4 stars. Obviously, we give them out with a Bulls win. Obviously, Zach took the 1. Kobe was second, and then it was a bit of a struggle, to be fair. Although it was a good performance, yeah. Caruso gets 3rd spot, and DeMar got 4th. You know, we weren't impressed with Vooch enough to get him there. He was kind of flirting around with it, but it wasn't Vooch's best game, even though Vooch was actually the team high in the plus minus, which, yeah, it's anyone who listens to this regularly knows I'm not particularly a stat guy, and that's one stat that I really don't get is the plus minus. So, yeah, the 4 stars, like I say, Zach, Kobe, AC, and DeMar. Now, yeah, DeMar, the way he finished wasn't good, but you know, he started the game well for us and basically made sure we was in the game moving forward. So yeah. So I think I'll wrap it up there. Like I say, it is just a new idea we're starting to try and take a little bit of time off our main pods and give us a chance to talk about something else. Like I say, hit the bell, give us a thumbs up, leave some comments, let me know what you thought of the game, let me know what you think of our opinion on the bull of the game and stuff like that. And we will be back later on with another episode, me and Neil, where we'll talk a little bit more in depth about individual performances. And until then, see red people, go Bulls.